projects eventually once the project is done. But what they were trying to do was, instead of the Georgia legislature and the governor at the time was trying to help counties and cities out by saying, all right, you got this money coming in. Instead of having to go to the bank to borrow money or tax anticipation notes and stuff like that, cities and counties can use this SPLOST money in emergency situations, like with the hurricanes and other things where you have unexpected expenses. But by state law, that money has to be put back into the SPLOST, and the projects has to be funded by those monies that came in. And the auditors have to, as you said, the auditors have to prove that, not only to you commissioners, but also has to send that information to the state. That's because right. If you don't do that, then the state will come down and do whatever they do. So, yes, SPLOST monies do go into the general fund, but by state law, they have to be reimbursed back into that project, and an auditor has to show that's been done.
That's right.
And that was passed by I didn't know that until I was talking to Senator Blake Tillery about that. So when you say commingling of funds, the funds go right into the general fund.
That's right.
Okay? But they have to be used for the projects eventually, but counties and cities can use that in emergency situations, but it has to be paid back, and the state audits the counties to make sure they're doing that.
That's right.
Okay.
And our auditor has shown that our books are good as far as monies that are due the county, that are supposed to be looked after by the county and used by the county. Those funds are accounted for within the county, not in somebody's personal.
Right. And so that's the reason why I didn't know that until I was talking to Senator Blake Tillery about that. He says, but if there's any county or city out there that use those funds and don't pay them back into the SPLOST, they don't want the penalties coming down from the state.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Okay.
You mentioned tax anticipation note, currently $7.4 million, but as Jeffords mentioned Monday night, they're using this as a line item, taking it as they need it.
Yes,
right.
It's like a credit line.
Right.
Yeah.
So my question is, why not just take the whole $7.4 million and not raise taxes?
To save interest.
To save interest.
Right. So say that again, Denise?
To save the interest on the loan.
Save the interest it's a lot of money when you borrow. Yeah.
And we have to be sure that we can pay that tax anticipation note back
right.
within its time.
And it has to be paid at the end of the year. Right?
That's right.
And that's the reason the tax digest needs to be out timely, so that the funds will be available to pay that.
And if I can say that when we voted on this tentative millage rate, and I've stressed this numerous times, it was a tentative millage rate. We were hoping we could come in lower, but the numbers just aren't there. We had to get that millage rate announced as tentative, and then on Monday we have to vote on it for good. In order for that tax digest to get into the state, for the state to approve it, then Ms. Griffiths can send out the tax bills. She can't send out the tax bills until that digest is approved by the state. And in years past, the tax digest hasn't gone to the state on time, and the bills haven't gone out on time. In numerous occasions, we've had to get a Superior Court judge to allow us to send out tax bills prior to the tax digest being approved. That's one of the things that we have helped the Board of Assessors in their due diligence to make that tax digest get in on time. I think this year we're on track to have the same thing. The tax digest also affects when our FLIPA monies, our FLIPA credit reimbursements come in from the state. And
explain to folks what FLIPA money is.
That's the Forest Land Protection Act.
Okay. All right.
Years ago, the government decided to change the evaluations on timberlands. There's a formula there that is very complicated on how timberlands are assessed, and the owner can apply for a credit and get that tax credit locally. The state then reimburses the county for that credit.
Okay. So the money comes back.
The money comes back
from Atlanta.
If that tax credit application is approved by the state, if it's not approved by the state, the tax credit may have been given, but the state doesn't give us the credit back. So there have been lost funds because of applications not being approved in the past.
Right. How much FLIPA money did we get back this past year, Denise? Do you know?
I want to say about 1.2 million, but I wouldn't swear to
Bob
it.
reported that somewhere in that area. Yeah.
Now, and also, and we hit on that note, Ms. Griffiths, myself, and Mr. Jeffrey Griffith and Mr. Jeffords and I went to Atlanta some time ago before we got our last flip of monies, but we were 2 years behind on flip of reimbursements from the state. We went up and sat down with Miss Lynette Riley, the tax commissioner or the revenue commissioner for the state, and asked her what we could do to make those flip of monies come back in. One thing was that tax digest getting on time. That was an absolute must. I think by the digest being in on time that time, we moved from way down on the list, 130 or 140 on the list in order to get to the flip of monies back, way up to the top, and within 2.5 to 3 months, we had both years of flipper credits.
That is a long way down. There's 159 counties. we were way down. 140 something. That was way down there. And luckily, y'all got it moved up.
And Miss Riley has, she's really working with us now on making sure that the things that this county needs to do as a whole to get any credits, any reimbursements from the state are back on track. So that's another example of how we're turning this thing around and making things happen more streamlined and more smoothly and more lean than they have in the past for many reasons.
Okay. Well, tell us about today's meeting.
Today's meeting
of the county commissioners, Herschel.
One thing we have today, we have a call meeting at 3 p.m. today that I requested yesterday, and one of the notes on that meeting is going to be to approve a 911 resolution. That's kind of a minor thing in the meeting, but it's going to be to make sure that all of us commissioners are on the same page with the approach we have to have now on turning this financial situation around. We have to vote on the permanent millage rate increase on Monday in a hearing, after a hearing, and Mr. Jeffords back at the retreat laid out a plan that he had when he let us know for sure what kind of financial situation we were in and laid out every item in it. You know, he expressed, this is my plan. This is what we're going to have to do if we're going to turn it around and not go status quo and keep kicking this can down the road. This is what we're going to have to do. And we're going to get in a little bit deeper into that approach and make sure that we're all committed to the more transparency, more accountability, and everyone working together. So this meeting this evening is for that, to make sure we're all on the same page, to make sure we're all committed to turn this county around.
Okay.
Yeah, the first public hearing, an elderly gentleman, looked y'all dead in the eye and says, y'all just overspent.
And I said, in
y'all
some
did
cases, yes.
Right. So,
yes, in some cases, yes.
So how do we stop overspending?
Well, Mr. Jeffords has already gotten deep into that. We'll be working with the department heads even more, the constitutional officers even more, to see what else we can do to cut their costs. For example, there's a good bit of overtime expended. We know that. Again, I'll go back to we had storms, we had situations where the sheriff had to provide more courtroom security than was normal, whether it was for more murder trials in the county than we ever accounted for. Numerous things that cause those costs to go up. And when Mr. Smart expressed that we were getting into financial problems, and one of the things we did was put a hiring freeze on.
And that's the former county administrator, is what you're saying.
That's correct.
Former, okay.
One of the things we did was implement a hiring freeze, and we need to address possibly lifting that hiring freeze, opening up some positions, but to make those positions be able to be filled, we're going to have to increase the salaries of some of our employees. We've talked about that for months. We're still doing the digging into the numbers to see how many employees it's going to take to offset those numbers. I will be sitting down with the sheriff and seeing what we could work out to help him get an increase in the number of employees to cut down on overtime.
Yeah, I didn't realize until Bob mentioned on the news the other day that 45% of the county's budget is spent on law enforcement of some sort, whether it's the sheriff's department, whether it's the court cases. I mean, a lot of money is spent in that courthouse. Is that right, Denise?
That's exactly right. It's I think last year it might have been around a little over $9 million in the budget. Now that's not, we can't say that's just law enforcement. Let me reiterate, that's the system, the criminal justice system,
all the way across,
whether it's Superior Court, State Court, magistrate court, everything to do with the court system, the clerk's office, the sheriff's office, the jail, the public defender's office, the district attorney's office, all those things that we have to provide to maintain order, maintain civility, run the courthouse. All of that budget combined is about 45 to 46% of the county's budget.
Crime is an expensive thing for counties.
It is, and
state and the country.
We started Mr. Jeffords started a criminal justice committee for all of us to get together. It's comprised of Superior Court judge, state court judge, the clerk, the sheriff, and the DA, like I mentioned, the DA's office, the public defender's office. I sit on that committee. We meet and try to figure out a way to combine court dates or have it so that we're not calling several juries and paying several juries to come in on several different days. If we can narrow those down and get them where we have a schedule to cut down on cost in the criminal justice, and the judges, the clerks, everybody, we're all on board. Everybody's working together, and we are actually bringing that number down little by little. Drug court, numerous other courts that we have to provide. And I think that's part of the problem is a lot of the people in the county don't realize just what the county has to provide in the way of services. The road department, the sheriff's department, the ambulance department, all those are real visible. They see those a lot and probably use those more. But there are other services like mental health. Of course, you got rec. That's a good sized budget. But there's so many services people just don't stop and think about, and we have to provide those. Some may never see them, some may never use them.
I know we're getting close to the end. I just want to ask you, I've said all week, it's anyone's guess how the vote's going to take place on Monday. Do you have a guess on how the vote's going to take place on Monday? Do you think everybody's on board for the $5 million increase?
I do. I really do. I think that with these hearings, people have seen and understood that this is something we do not want to do. But also, I think that the other commissioners realize that we're at the end of the road now. We've got to commit to do this increase, turn this financial boat around, get this county back fiscally right, and then hopefully be able to roll back that millage rate in 2 years, 2.5 years. I don't want to limit myself because I don't know what's going to happen, but within 3 years for sure, be able to roll this millage rate back, even if we do it a little bit at a time, and get this county back right so that we've got a fund balance. We're prepared for these storms, and all these projects that need to be done are done. But yeah, I think that after we meet today, I believe we'll all be unified and ready to move forward with this.
All right. Your thoughts and feelings on Commissioner Hickok's 180 plan?
Commissioner Hickox has some good points in his plan, and I agree with him on some of them. Some of them I've stated from the beginning that they simply won't work. They're good ideas. He's got good points in there, but some things we simply don't have control over. And we've discussed those numerous times, and Mr. Jeffords has taken some of the points that Mr. Hickox has. Some of those points Mr. Jeffords already had in the approach that he presented to us back months ago. Yeah, Commissioner Hickox, I commend him. I admire him. He and Jamie did due diligence of crunching numbers and trying to get it where that plan would work in its entirety. But there's some things that have to be modified in it, and we'll work with Commissioner Hickox. He's going to work with us. We're going I guess this is probably a misnomer. People don't think that the rest of us haven't been thinking about this and come up with a plan. Every commissioner has had some idea, some input about what we can do to fix this. Every single commissioner I've talked to individually. Well, what if we do this? And what if we continue to do this? Or what if we do more of that? Commissioner Hickox has quite a few good points in his plan, and they'll be implemented.
Okay, and he'll be on the Butch and Bob Show next Monday. Our internet has been down all morning. If you've been listening to the radio station this morning, you'll hear things and so every time I try to get on there, it's down. So we got to get our crack engineer in here, Matt, soon, and get this thing fixed, and get him in here soon. And so, as chairman of the commission, Herschel, I know that they always say the buck stops here, but you'll all have one vote equal. But as the chairman, it sounds like you're doing your best to try to have a cohesive group of five men there on the same page to move forward with the fixing this problem we have here with the financial situation in Wayne County.
Yes, sir. I'm doing my best, and it's when you got five individuals, you have five different backgrounds, five sets of ideals, and you all have people that you have to try to fill the needs of. We each have quite a few constituents, and there's such a broad range from you've got two commissioners in the city of Jessup that are in a populated area, and then you have three of us commissioners that are out in the rural areas. Our needs are different, and our constituents' needs are different, and it's a group effort, and sometimes it's a chore for everybody to kind of see the other's needs. And so, I see your point. I see what you're up against. But we have done it. I served on the IDA for 8 years. It was a very good board. Worked well together. This is my first Poppet commission, I guess, because I filled an unexpired term of 2 years. Now I'm starting another 4-year term. These guys are really good to work with, and I think that with this cohesiveness and this working together, and with our new administrator, the new tax commissioner, and we're fixing to bring on board I understand the Board of Assessors has interviewed someone to take the Chief Appraiser's place.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. So they are getting close.
Yes, sir. They are getting close. I'm not sure exactly where they are. I know they interviewed last week, and they were down to quite a few short list of applicants. With all that combined, I think that we're in a position right now with the administration and with the board members that we can get this thing turned around and get it straightened out, and have the growth of the county that we need, and the involvement of the community. We're going to make this. We're going to make it work. We're going to turn around. We're going to again be more accountable. But I want people to get more involved. I made the statement the other night when I looked out in that audience and saw a room full with standing room only. If people would get more involved every county commission meeting or every IDA meeting or any other board of assessors, any of them, if people knew more about how this thing operated and what it took to run, we probably wouldn't be in this shape now.
Yeah, and there's a lot of rumors that go on out there. I blame social media is really bad, and people can put anything on there. And for some reason, when people read something on social media, they think it's the truth. But there's people out there who have agendas. There's some people who just have misinformation. There's all kinds of stuff out there. And I've always said here on the show, is people need to get the facts, the details. They need to go to the meetings. They need to get involved, as you just mentioned. How does the average citizen out there saying, all right, I don't understand all this, I don't know what to believe and what not to believe, what can they do to get the facts, to understand the process that y'all go through with the budget and the taxes and everything? Is there public information that people can get? I know most people wouldn't even know how to read a financial report, but I have a hard time with that sometimes.
Right.
And so how do they actually get the facts instead of trying to go with emotional rumors?
Well, one of the best things they can do is ask us directly. I've provided, we all have provided our email addresses, our cell phone numbers. I'm totally open to anyone calling or texting or asking. We'll tell them, come to the county commission meetings, and just call and ask, or either go on the website and look at some of the items are available on the county website. It's get involved and ask, and that's what I want to caution people on. So many of the social media keyboard warriors, I'd like to call them.
I hadn't heard that term.
Keyboard warriors. Yeah, that's about the best way I know to put it. They spout these things that they think is the truth, and you don't. When it turns out, and I've corrected quite a few of them personally and privately. Someone will message me or call me and say, "Have you seen what's on Facebook or whatever? You've seen any of it?" Yeah, I saw some of it. Here's a screenshot. I go look at it and think, "Good gracious, that's way off course." And as a courtesy, I would message that person privately and say, "Look, good morning. I just want to let you know that what you've got here is not correct, and I want to correct you here instead of somebody getting on there publicly and doing it. So here's the facts."
Right.
And I've changed so many of those things now. Some, it is what it is. They're going to worry with that keyboard anyway. So I just let them go. But that's the thing. Call us, text us, ask us.
Well, we were open this morning. We knew that we were going to have a very, you and Denise had a lot of information to go over this morning. We didn't know if we'd be able to actually answer any text messages, but a doggone blasted internet's down this morning, and it's messing up a lot of things here at the station. And Herschel, we're on video, y'all. And maybe, I don't know with the internet now, we may not be. But Herschel did tell me before we went on the air that if there's any text messages that came in and we weren't able to, she wasn't able to answer any of them, to be able to take the number and you would personally get a hold of them. But because all we get is the question and their phone number. We don't get a name unless they actually put it on there. And you want to be able to address each one of those questions personally yourself. But unless somehow they pop up on ZipWhip when our internet comes back up, I'm not going to be able to do that. Bob's mentioned, I've mentioned several times, if you want to know the facts, call up your commissioner, talk to the county administrator, talk to whoever the department head, and just get the facts before you believe rumors out there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If we spent our most of our time being just real productive in the things we really need to do, instead of trying to go back and quell rumors or straighten out something that's totally off base, we could get a whole lot more done.
All right, Denise, let's say on Monday night they get the tax digest, the bills passed. How soon would the bills go out, and when do you expect the money in?
That depends on whether or not they do go with the $5 million increase. If they go with the $5 million increase, I should be able to ship it to Atlanta overnight on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. If they settle somewhere in between, there will be a lot of paperwork that has to be redone, and the bills will have to be reprocessed in the system. So that would add probably a week.
Okay, and so all this has to be approved by Atlanta. Someone in the department in Atlanta has to approve the millage increase.
It's Local Government Services is the name of the department. They have to approve the digest, and they actually send me, usually by email so that it's quicker, an order to bill and collect. I cannot do anything until I have that order to bill and collect. The printing companies will not even print the bills until you provide them a copy of the order to bill and collect.
Okay, so the bills go out and you expect the majority of the money in by December 31st. Is that correct?
Well, the due date hopefully will be November 15th, which is the statutory date that they're supposed to be due.
Okay. All right. Well, Bob, any other questions or anything for
just
Commissioner Herschel Hires?
I said good luck. We'll be there Monday.
Thank you again for allowing us to have the time. And
like I said, I give you credit. It's hard to conduct public meetings, but kudos to everybody that showed up. I thought it was both public hearings I attended were they were orderly, which was good. And everybody respected everybody's. I thought everybody had a chance to speak, which is a good thing. So that's what this process is all about. But I thought you did a good job of handling the crowd and making sure everybody understood the guidelines. But I thought both public hearings went well. Hopefully the third one will go well as well.
I hope so. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Bob.
Butch, thank you.
All right. Thank you all so much. And remember now, we'll have Commissioner Ralph Hickox in here on